So there's a video that's going around from a site called The Cut. Okay, The Cut is a website that has to do with, it's an aspect of New York Magazine. Okay, so this is a major publication. The Cut is owned by New York Magazine. It is one of their brands. And it very often deals with minority issues. They put together a video. The video asked a bunch of non-white people, what are white people superior at? Now, again, reverse the races, and this is the most racist video, according to the left, ever made. What are black people superior at, right? Listen to the answers that these people of color give. And this is considered not only perfectly okay, but insightful. Insightful and good, because white people have to challenge their own preconceived notions and biases. They have to look inside themselves for their own flaws. They have to do the work. This video is just pure racism. It is just pure unbridled racism against white people. That's all this video is. It was at The Cut. Here we go.
What are white people superior at?
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence. Genocide.
It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
Fear.
Being fearful of nothing.
Being ignorant.
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move. Superior at being
What exactly are white people superior at?
oppression.
Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not there. Taking
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
As my grandma would say, them white folk, they'll take it if you don't copyright it.
Okay, so just to go through a list of those things, it's a comedic video, guys. This is super funny. There's a bunch of people of color talking about white folks. What are white people the best at? It turns out white people are just sheer garbage. They're just the worst people in the entire universe, according to this group of people at The Cut. This is considered fine to be distributed by legacy media over at The Cut. Let me just go through the list of some of the things they said. This isn't even the entirety of the things that were said in that video. Again, none of those people are going to lose their job. Those people will be given raises. Those people are heroes of the Republic. Scott Adams will lose his entire comic strip. And there's a case to be made he should. And those people will be rewarded and they will be put over at New York Magazine, no problemo. So just a few things they say that white people are better at. Violence. You know, imagine that you were asked a question about what are black people better at, and you answered violence. Your job is over. You lose your job. It's gone. I mean, you're never getting it back. If you said that what black people are better at is insecurity, ego, that black people are dicks, that's literally what somebody said on that video, that they are better at oppression, that they are better at lack of empathy, that black people have no empathy. If you said that sort of thing, like just reverse the races, if you said that sort of thing, no job for you, you're toast. If you said what black people are the best at is cultural appropriation, taking things that don't belong to, first of all, they said stealing, actual stealing. Then they said taking things that don't belong to them and culturally appropriating them. If you said any of that sort of stuff, you would be out of a job tomorrow. It is that simple. In other words, racism is totally fine with the left, but only toward one group. I shouldn't say only toward one group. There are certain types of racism that are totally fine from the left, depending on whether you are higher or lower on the intersectional pyramid. So if you are a white person and you're anti-Asian, that's racism. If you're a black person, you're anti-Asian. We don't talk about that sort of stuff. If you are a white person, you're a white supremacist and you hate Jews, we talk about that a lot. If you are a black person and you're beating the shit out of a Jew in Williamsburg, that does not get any media coverage whatsoever. We don't care about that. That is not worth discussing. We need to stop talking about that right now. All of which suggests that for the left, unfortunately, racism is not actually the problem. It is a power game, which is what it is. The left believes in a deconstructionist vision of society in which all words and all societal forces are merely guises for power. And so when you say to yourself, wait a second, this makes no sense. And just on a pure human level, it makes no sense that you're okay with racism against white people, but you're super anti-racism against black people. That doesn't make any sense. You have to understand that for the left, it isn't about the racism, it's about the power. And they'll say this. They'll say that racism is only possible from the powerful toward the powerless. So if you have people who are less powerful, who actually hold some of the most egregious views in society, if you have those people, if those people exist, it doesn't matter, they don't have power. It's about power. It's about restoring a balanced power, and not just a balance, about restoring supreme power for certain groups at the expense of other groups in order to overturn the system generally, which means that it's all lies. Well, Sally Fields, she once said, you like her. You really like her. But now she says that she has too much white privilege. That's stupid. Well, let me tell you something else that's unbelievably stupid. Not writing a will. You should get a will. The reason you should get a will is because, God forbid, you die. You don't want the state disposing of your assets or deciding who raises your kids. According to a recent poll, 62% of Americans who actually think about their own death a lot of the time don't have a will, which is stupid. If you're afraid of drowning, you should wear a life jacket. Creating a will is one of the most important things you can do to ensure your belongings and your loved ones are taken care of after, God forbid, you die. My partners at Epic Will can help you get set up with a will today. For just $119 in as little as 5 minutes, Epic Will can help you create your last will and testament, your living will, even your healthcare power of attorney. Go to epicwill.com/Shapiro, get my discount code, save an extra 10% on your complete will package. With Epic Will's easy-to-use template, all you have to do is fill in the blanks. Head on over to epicwill.com/Shapiro. Save 10% on Epic Will's complete will package. That's epicwill.com/Shapiro. epicwill.com/Shapiro. Don't be left high and dry in case, God forbid, you plot. Make sure you have a will. Go to epicwill.com/Shapiro. Well, when you think about the left's perception of racism, that racism is basically okay, depending on which group it is coming from, you think to yourself, some of these people need God. But here's the thing. We all need a little more God in our lives, and that's why you should check out Hallow. Hallow helps you maintain a daily prayer routine. It's filled with studies, meditations, and reflections rooted in Judeo-Christian prayer practices. You can pray alongside Mark Wahlberg, Jim Caviezel, You can pray alongside Mark Wahlberg, Jim Caviezel, and even some world-class athletes. You can access the #1 Christian podcast, Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz on Hallow. You know, Lent is not my thing because I'm Jewish, but it means a ton to tons of other people, and they got all sorts of content for you over at Hallow. They have all of these classes and all of these prayer resources. You can set prayer reminders, invite others to pray with you, track your progress along the way. Try Hallow for 3 months free at hallow.com/Shapiro. I've always been a big advocate of Christians engaging more with their faith. You should do it right now. Try Hallow for 3 months for free at hallow.com/Shapiro. It's going to make your life better because re-engaging with God and godly values is a very good thing. That's hallow.com/Shapiro. Again, hallow.com/Shapiro and get 3 months for free. Hallow.com/Shapiro. The media like to claim that they are the experts when it comes to the race debate. They're the ones who will tell you what is appropriate speech and what is not appropriate speech. So just as in the scientific context, they will tell you what you're allowed to talk about. Ixnay on the ab-eak-lay hypothesis. Ixnay on, no talking about that. You weren't allowed to talk about the problems of transmission despite the vaccine. You weren't allowed to talk about natural immunity. There are like 1,000 things you were not allowed to talk about when it came to COVID because they were the experts and you were not the experts. They feel the same way about basic social interactions. So there are certain things you are just not allowed to say. There are certain things that you are not allowed to, and conversely, there's certain things that you are allowed to say and you are allowed to do if your skin is of a particular color. It's really, really hideous stuff. Now again, I'm all for one standard when it comes to racism. Don't malign groups. Done. That's the end of it. Do not malign racial groups. Do not treat one racial group differently than you would treat another racial group. Do not promote the idea that a group is worse or better based on skin color. Right? These are like, this is very basic stuff, but the left doesn't actually hold to those standards. The left doesn't hold to those standards, not remotely. So there are a couple of big controversies about this over the weekend. So the first big controversy was Scott Adams. So Scott Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert, he had an unfortunate clip that went viral because he was talking about a poll from Rasmussen. And this poll from Rasmussen is super disturbing. The poll from Rasmussen polled Americans on the question of, quote, it's okay to be white. Is it okay to be white? 72% of Americans agree that it's okay to be white. 12% disagree. 69% of Democrats agree and 12% disagree. But among Black Americans, 53% agree that it's okay to be white. 26% disagree. 21% not sure. So only a bare majority of Black Americans, according to Rasmussen, think it's, quote, okay to be white. Now, there are a couple of reads on that poll. One is that people are not actually listening to the poll question. They're hearing that as a slogan. And so they're hearing that as a responsive slogan that is sort of racist in intent. Now, again, I think that they're divining too much in the question. It's okay to be white. But that is a plausible read. That people see here, it's okay to be white. What they are thinking is it's superior to be white. Okay, fine. That is the kind read. Bottom line, though, is if those poll numbers are representative, at least a quarter of Black Americans think it's not okay to be white, right? That would be the actual converse of it's okay to be white, which is disturbing. Because if you had 26% of white Americans saying it's not okay to be Black, that would be incredibly disturbing and super problematic. And it would spell, some real problems in our republic. So Scott Adams decided to go off on it, but the way that he went off on it was in the dumbest possible way. So here was Scott Adams talking about this.
So if nearly half of all Blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the f*** away. Wherever you have to go, just get away.
So that's really terrible. That's a really terrible racist thing to say, that based on this poll, you should just run away from all black people. Now, here is the thing. Here's the thing. You can agree with that. Also, agree with that's a terrible racist thing to say. Also, if you replaced every word that says black in that sentence with white in that sentence, the mainstream media will not only cheer you, they will give you an op-ed slot at the New York Times. Herein lies a major problem in American society. Okay, so Scott Adams says something that pretty much everybody acknowledges is racist, right? Which is he says that that poll shows that black people are a hate group, seems to be what he is saying there. Right? That seems to be what he is saying, that there's a poll and it shows that only 53% of black Americans think it's okay to be white, which means 47% of black Americans think it's not okay to be white. And so there's a direct quote, if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. I don't want anything to do with them. And just to clarify, he continued along these lines and he suggested that you should then avoid black people, right? You should live as far away from them as humanly possible. You should move in order to avoid black people. Okay, so that is what he is saying. So now we're going to play a quick game of reverse the races. Okay, this quick game is useful because, as we'll discuss in just a moment, the left is totally fine with racism so long as it actually is coming from one particular group against another particular group. You want to know why there are so many people in America who believe that it's okay to be racist against white people? It's because of the media's treatment of these particular issues. Okay, so we're going to just read Scott Adams's full quote here. And we're going to read his entire quote based on, by reversing the race. Quote, if nearly half of all whites are not okay with black people, according to this poll, not according to me, that's a hate group. That's a hate group and I don't want anything to do with them. Based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to black people is to get the hell away from white people. This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. All I did in that quote is just reverse the races. That's all I did in that quote. That is a direct quote from Scott Adams. Dilbert has been canceled from every major newspaper in the United States. It's a really, really bad quote from him when it's about black people. If it were about black people treating white people, right, if the races were reversed, the entire media would be putting this guy on the front page of the 1619 Project. Right? If this were a black person saying that half of white people are not okay with black people, the best thing you can do is get away from the white people, that person is now speaking on major college campuses. That person is being given op-ed slots over at the New York Times. That person is being given a Hulu deal. And when it comes to racism in the United States, there is, in fact, a massive double standard. Some of us believe racism is bad across the board, and then others of us on the left, we tend to believe that racism is okay, so long as that racism is being performed by people who are not white against people who are white. Alrighty, folks, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into the mailbag. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.